If you're here for the ridiculous clickbaity thumbnail and you just want to see what one Bitcoin in silver looked like, here you go. This is one Bitcoin in silver. I just went by spot price, which is currently around $23.50 an ounce. There's obviously premium on physical silver, so you could add the premium on top of that, but I'm just going to go by spot price here to relative to the current price of Bitcoin, which is around 62.5. To get that math together, you do 62.5 divided by 32.50 per ounce, and you get around 26 to 2,700 ounces of silver, give or take that 100-ounce bar. We'll just call that the give or take amount. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 1,500 ounces of silver here. These are each 100-ounce bars of silver. Here is an 1,100-ounce New York assay bar. This is actually a legitimate New York assay bar from 1955 from the actual New York assay office. The United States New York assay office gave this probably for silver certs back in 1955. Really, really cool bar. I'll probably post pictures of that on my Instagram if you want to see it. Really cool collectible piece of silver. That's something from my personal collection. This is now my third one of these, actually. I pulled this one out for this video. And then also here's another 100-ounce bar. So 1,500, 1,100, and then 100-ounce bar there. That's 2,700 ounces of silver. That's what it looks like. There you go. So if you had got into Bitcoin, I want to make the comparison between these two at a specific point, and that point being the beginning of the craziness happening in the world and the money printing getting started and then printing a ton of money. I think a fair point to go towards, I have a chart over here pulled up on the right. A fair point would be around March of 2020. So we're going to make the comparison there. Before I get into that, I wanted to talk a bit about silver and Bitcoin, maybe just precious metals as a whole, but specifically on silver. If there's one thing I never understood this like hatred. I never understood the headbutting between the precious metals community and Bitcoin. I think Bitcoiners are more headbutting with the gold bugs and the gold bugs with Bitcoin, but I'm noticing a lot of people in silver are Bitcoiners as well, have both, because we tend to like the metal and we like Bitcoin. You know, that's at least how I feel. I like both. I don't like gold nearly as much as I like silver, and I don't like gold as much as I like Bitcoin. Some people don't like that I say that, but that's how I feel about it. But all in all, I never understood how these great libertarian-minded individuals are in this headbutting match. They think so much alike. Like, we think so much alike. Everybody who has that mindset of, I want to be self-sovereign, I want a smaller, more limited government, that is basically the mindset of a Bitcoiner, and that is the mindset of somebody in precious metals. They both agree on the principles of sound money. The term sound money, ironically, does come from dropping a silver coin or a gold coin on a counter. You get the term sound money. So Bitcoin gets the sound money thing from precious metals, and they have so much similarities. It's kind of funny to me how much similarities are in the precious metals community and the Bitcoin community. Just one of them specializes in the digital realm, and one of them is in the physical realm. That's the first thing I wanted to say, and I just wanted to say that I wish Peter Schiff would come around to understanding that we do need a sound money in the digital realm, and that doesn't mean silver is just worthless. It means that we need a sound money in the digital realm, and it makes sense to have it, and it makes sense to take custody of it, not to put it in an exchange, which I'll do more videos on that on the channel. I plan to do a lot more videos on how to cold storage your Bitcoin, because I think that is the most important aspect of Bitcoin. And once you do that, coming from the precious metals industry, it makes it tangible. It makes it, you realize, wait, I have the password to it, I have it all here, and I have access to it. And it really changes your mindset when you transfer it around and you have full control of it. It's almost as if you could do a wire transfer, but you never have to talk to the bank. And you don't have to deal with the routing and the account number and the bank address and the business address and all that stuff. You just have full access to wire transfers 24/7, 365, and you don't have to ask anybody any favors or anything like that. So cold storage is extremely unique with Bitcoin, and the more and more I learn about it, the more fascinated I become. So I would argue people like Peter Schiff has never used a cold storage device. He doesn't understand how it works. He's never used a node. He doesn't understand that stuff. So it's hard to take his opinion when he won't actually study the thing he's talking about. He only knows precious metals. He doesn't study Bitcoin. I've studied Bitcoin quite a bit, and I'm only I think there's probably 75% more that I need to learn. I barely know as much. I'm just getting at the surface of it. And now that I understand it, I feel like I could simplify it for my audience. And if you want to see those videos, let me know in a comment down below. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, would love to have you as a subscriber. Really would appreciate it. So let's get into some more details here, though. I first just want to talk about how much similarities are there. And it makes so much sense to have digital sound money and physical sound money. So the first thing I will say is I only believe in having the actual physical metal. So I have the physical metal here. I actually have control of it. It's not held in some bank's vault. If I have SLV ETF, that means JP Morgan has the silver and is literally the custodian for SLV. So I don't want some ETF, which is another, I hate to constantly bring up Peter Schiff, but he talks about this all the time where he goes, well, you could have a token back to gold and silver. Has that worked one time in the past, Peter? What happened last time we trusted a government with the silver and gold? What happened last time we trust custodian with our silver and gold and we take a note against it? The digital token would be no different than the fiat currency that we trusted before. You do not want to trust a custodian with your precious metals, period. I've had multiple offers to do advertisements on my channel. The only ad is the ones that you'll see organically from YouTube. You won't see me talking about, I don't want to say their name, but they talk about all, try to email me, literally 8 emails saying, hey, please, you be a perfect mixture between crypto and metals. And it's no, if you're going to have precious metals, have the physical thing. Don't trust some custodian, have the real thing. That's why Bitcoin is so unique, because if you have your seed, which is your 24 words that one of these devices give you, you have access to your Bitcoin on the blockchain and nobody else does. And there's only going to be 21 million of them, and a lot of them are lost. So there's really not a large amount out there available. To put it in perspective, there's over 50 million millionaires in the world, but there's only 21 million Bitcoin. I would argue it's around 18 million because 3 million of them are lost, but that's subject for another conversation. So having a Bitcoin it's very limited, and we need it in the digital realm. We need something in the digital realm that's sound and doesn't need to be backed to a physical item. Bitcoin solves that problem. In the actual physical world, silver I find to be the best storage of value in the tangible realm, where you actually can touch and feel the industrial metal and you can stack it yourself. I don't trust the digital version of it. That's why the first reason why I started to buy Bitcoin is when I realized, wait a minute, I would like to have some money in the digital realm that is sound money and has the principles of sound money. And then I saw the nodes and how wide the nodes are getting and how protected the network has become and secure the network has become. Also, it's the network effect of Bitcoin. So you have well over 100 million users in Bitcoin now. A network like that holds serious value, let alone a network with as much security as Bitcoin, because there's so many people running their own node now and all of these miners around the world securing the protocol. It's hard to explain in a short video like this, but I plan to do more detailed videos in the future talking about how secure the network really is. And do we need something like that? Well, most of the dollars out there are digital. More than 90% of dollars, when they say we're printing money, no, they're digitally injecting money. They're not printing anything. They're digitally injecting the money. Printing is a very minuscule amount of the money. To put it into perspective, more than 90% of the dollars out there are digital. So it makes a lot of sense to have a closed loop system that's non-inflationary and has no tie to any individual government, and people can easily get into it with all of these on-ramps. And then not only can they get into it, I can't take my Apple stock or my Tesla stock or anything like that, and I'm not in either of them, but if I did, I can't take those stocks into a device and have access to those stocks and then be able to move it around and do whatever I please with it on my own device outside of the system. That's what's so elegant about Bitcoin. When I only knew about buying it on an exchange, it didn't click with me yet. It was once I actually put it into my own device and knew that only I have the password to it, Only I have access to this Bitcoin. Nobody else on the planet. Not Coinbase, not any exchange, not TD Ameritrade. None of them have access to it. Only I have access to it because I have the real thing on my own device. That's when it all started clicking for me. It's not about buying the Bitcoin ETF. It's not about putting your Bitcoin on Coinbase or anything like that. It only becomes real once you actually use the number one utility of Bitcoin and put it into your own device and you have custody of that real Bitcoin. And it's hard to explain, again, until you actually do it. So I would highly recommend learning how to use a cold storage. If you haven't learned yet, I promise I will be making videos on it in the near future on this channel. So please subscribe and click the bell. You'll be notified when I make that video. But there's a ton of information out there apart from me simplifying it. Learn how to do that. Take a small amount from the exchange and actually play with it. Use Bitcoin and play with it. Figure out how it works before commenting on it. Too many people comment on it without actually learning how it works, without actually understanding how a node works, how miners work, how cold storage works. Peter Schiff is one of them, who just is very closed-minded, doesn't want to learn about it. I learned about it. And the more I learned about it, I went, wow, this is very elegant. I can't take my Apple stock and put it in my pocket like I can with Bitcoin. I can't, with Bitcoin, I put it on this device, literally can put it in my pocket. I have the passwords, nobody else does, and I have full access to all of my asset any given time. I can also leverage it now, which is another video I'm going to talk about, how you don't have to pay a capital gain and you can leverage it to get fiat against your Bitcoin and not have to sell your Bitcoin and declare capital gain. That's going to be a video I do probably right after this one. But anyway, that's kind of something I want to talk about. There's a big difference between digital realm and physical realm. I would argue that silver can never be in the digital realm. If you really want to take advantage of silver, I don't believe it can be in the digital realm. Some people might be mad at me for saying that. Some people might be in one of those blockchain-based silver and gold companies. I don't trust it. I can't audit the gold in those vaults. I'm not the one testing the golds in the vaults. I don't like trusting a custodian. I don't know why Peter Schiff recommends it. Maybe he wants people in his fund. I don't know how the deal works with that. Everything I say in my video isn't financial advice. So disclaimer, just my opinion. But if you're going to be in precious metals, you have to have the real thing. You have to have the real bar. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. So that is why I believed in both of them. I want to get into the actual charts here on the right. So let me see if I can pull this up here. This new fancy tech. Okay, so hopefully this is working. I think it is. So I want to talk about right here at the beginning of March. This is right when everything kind of happened and it got a little crazy in the world, very crazy in the world, and things started going down. So to be fair, I think that's a really good place to start because both assets went down. Silver went down at the beginning of March and also Bitcoin did. So I think that's a good comparison point. Then all the money printing happened, right? So silver bottomed around 12, and at the same time, Bitcoin in March bottomed around 4,000. So pretty crazy. The return on Bitcoin from the beginning versus the return on Bitcoin with silver. Nobody can deny how serious of a return Bitcoin has given. I would say that a lot of it has to do with how easy of an on-ramp there is to Bitcoin, how much in actual fund money is going in, and like Wall Street money is going into Bitcoin. The thing that is overlooked with Bitcoin is that when Bitcoin first started in 2009, there's only really like one freeway to get into it, and it was kind of a sketchy freeway where there's a lot of car accidents and stuff, and you didn't know how smooth the freeway was going to be, so it was kind of sketchy to get into Bitcoin. But now you have like Cash App and Coinbase, and I'm comparing them to like freeways with cars going fast and getting to their destinations now, buying the Bitcoin, selling the Bitcoin, buying the Bitcoin. And there's all these freeways now. There's Venmo, Cash App, PayPal is even in it now. Brands that people trust are in Bitcoin now. You got Gemini Exchange, Coinbase, you have Binance, all these different places to get Bitcoin, crypto.com. Like there's so many different places. I really like Cash App's workflow for somebody just getting involved in Bitcoin because they only do Bitcoin, and I only believe in Bitcoin. I think everything else is smoke and mirrors. I'll do another video on that in the future. Again, if you want to subscribe, I'll be posting more videos about why I'm only in Bitcoin. But the more on-ramps are there, it's like almost being like an impulse buy now. People have extra money there in their Cash App and they go, oh, I'll buy some Bitcoin. And that happened to me. I had some extra money. Okay, I'll buy some Bitcoin. And because of that, the ease of on-ramp to getting into Bitcoin, we're seeing the money flooding into Bitcoin. And then when you learn about it, you go, wow, this is very, very elegant. So I think that a lot of it has to do with that. A lot of digital money out there is trying to find a digital safe haven, and it's flooding into Bitcoin. So I wanted to basically show this chart here to show you where I got the numbers from. The next thing I wanted to show here, I think I'm still on the bottom screen. I should be in the bottom left of the screen over here somewhere, right? So at this point, at the beginning of March, the reason I wanted to do this also is silver's around 12. Bitcoin was around 4,000 to 5,000 range, in that March range right there, 4,000 to 5,000. That equates to roughly 400 ounces of silver. So if I go back to this screen real quick, we'll go back over to the other screen in a second. If I go to this screen and I show you, here's one, and I actually have more silver behind this big block. Here's 2, 3. These are 100 ounce bars of silver. 2, 3, and 4. At the beginning of March 2020, at the beginning of all of the money printing and all of the craziness happening, this here bought 1 Bitcoin. Now it can buy all of this. It's pretty heavy to think about. So did it make sense to only listen to Peter Schiff, or did it make sense to have a little bit in the portfolio as an insurance play? Which, ironically enough, if we go back to here, I actually made a video in the past, and I'm sorry, this is arrogant. I don't mean to be doing that thing, but Peter Schiff did comment on this video. I made a video saying Peter Schiff is wrong about Bitcoin. Bitcoin bull debates bear thesis, and this video only got like 1,000 views. I wish it got more views, because I literally talk about for 28 minutes all the points that I'm talking about right now, except this was 11 months ago, back when Bitcoin was like 10, 15,000. He goes, this is actually the real checkmark Peter Schiff. You can even click on his channel to show you, but he goes, thanks for the kind words. Good luck with your channel. Hopefully in the end, it does better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price again was between 10 and 15,000. My channel had about 1,000 subscribers, and he came in like, I don't know if that was passive aggressive. I don't know what the deal was, but I would love to debate Peter Schiff, because he's been very wrong. He was wrong then, and he's very wrong now about having a small amount of Bitcoin in your portfolio. If you don't know anything about it, not financial advice, disclaimer, but makes a lot of sense to have Bitcoin as an insurance play, to have a sound money in the digital realm, a sound asset in the digital realm. Let me move these back over here. But again, these 400 ounces of silver could have bought a full Bitcoin at the beginning of March 2020. Put this back. And now, this is a really cool bar, by the way. This is a old 100-ounce brick with the old Morgan silver dollar on it. But now that Bitcoin is worth 2,600 to 2,700 ounces of silver. I had seen, and I should probably get off this screen here, but yeah, Peter Schiff. Anyways, if you want to debate, I would love to debate you on this subject, because you're always debating people that are all in Bitcoin. You're never debating anybody that actually is in precious metals and Bitcoin. So I would love to be in that debate. I would bring up a lot of points. One of them would be, why do you back digital gold and silver? You should only be backing the physical real deal. I don't know why you're pushing that and you're thinking that would work. It's a terrible idea. But maybe you're scared. I don't know. I don't know what the whole deal is. Just my opinion. Anyway, let's go back to this screen. The other thing actually I want to talk about, though, while I'm over here, is the gold to silver ratio. This is when I saw it being pretty ridiculous, and I started buying a lot of silver right here in March, April 2020, which is when silver was about 11, 12 an ounce. And that was when it was at 114 on the gold to silver ratio, which means it would take 115 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold, which is ridiculous. It got to that point. Now it's between 75 and 80. It's been dabbling between 75, 80 range on the gold to silver ratio. To put it into perspective, it should be around 15, 20 was what it was historically. And it makes you realize that silver is less than half of its all-time high it reached in 2011, which is when you saw it peaking on the gold to silver ratio there. Back back then it was actually the opposite. So let me go back actually a second here. So in 2011, we go back. So when it dropped in 2011, this is back when silver was at 48 an ounce. It was at 31 on the silver to gold ratio, which it's way more than double that now. And so this is, at this time, gold was at all-time highs and silver was at all-time highs, and still you had a gold to silver ratio of 30, which I would argue still isn't the right number. The number should be around 15 to 20. So the gold to silver ratio is ridiculously out of proportion now. And I have an argument to make on why I think silver is so much better than gold, and why I'm still in silver compared to gold, and why I also think Bitcoin is better than gold. But I don't want to get too far into different categories in this video. I mainly wanted to compare silver and Bitcoin for the most part, for the clickbait, for the views, so you guys could all view this and see this clickbait here. But I hope there's actually really good information here. I enjoy making these videos, and I hope that this kind of puts it in perspective why it made sense to have Bitcoin as an insurance play back then. Again, I made that video talking about Bitcoin as an insurance play. It wasn't my idea alone. I had watched a video of Chamath Palihapitiya, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I could mess that up, so I apologize. But Chamath was on CNBC, and he talked about Bitcoin being an insurance play. And I don't see, he needs to get more respect for that, because he was calling out for Bitcoin when it was very, very low, like a couple thousand, maybe even less than that. And he was on CNBC saying, I think it's a great insurance play. If you could put 1 to 5% in your portfolio, you can afford to lose that. But if you're right, it might, 10, 20, 50x, 100x. So it would make sense as a risk mitigation play to have Bitcoin on your balance sheet, in your portfolio. I heard that and I went, that does make sense. I would like to have a little bit of Bitcoin in my portfolio. I believe in being self-sovereign, and I guess you can actually have custody of it and take it into your own device like I have here, cold storage. And I got some. And now my Bitcoin position, from when I first bought, is well over, the first bit of Bitcoin I got compared to now, cost average, I would imagine like 5x up, but the first little chunk I got was maybe 10x plus up. So it's like, obviously that made sense as an insurance play to be in Bitcoin. Now that small position, when I was talking about in my video, I think I had said 5 to 10% of a decentralized portfolio, it makes sense to have an allocation to Bitcoin, not the other precious metals, or not the other cryptos. All of that is just smoke and mirrors. I don't believe in cryptocurrency. I just believe in Bitcoin. I think all of it around it is kind of smoke and mirrors. I'll make videos on that subject in the future, but that's how I feel. I had gotten it as an insurance play, and I bought a lot of silver too. So that goes into the next topic I wanted to bring up in this video, was buying things with conviction. Now, if I went, for example, hypothetically, say I have $1 million, and I go, I see silver at 12, bottoming out at 11.12 at March 2020, and I see Dogecoin, for example, something like that. Now, obviously, if I put the $1 million in Dogecoin, it would have been insanely rewarded on that. But the timing of it is everything too, though. But what it comes down to is, could you sleep at night going all in to something that's very volatile, something that's very fresh, very new? Could you go all in and sleep at night? Could you have that kind of conviction knowing that you're going to get an increase on your capital? I have that kind of conviction with silver, because I went, silver you can't even mine it for this cheap. So for me, it was almost like arbitrage, and just my opinion, again, disclaimer, but it felt like arbitrage at that point. So I went in big. I went in almost 80, 90% of my net worth in silver at that time. And so there was still a premium. So you had to pay like 14, 15 an ounce when it was down at 11, 12. But I made a lot on that, because if you make, again, hypothetically, if you have $1 million and you make, say, 40% on that, you made $400K. But if you got a little bit risky and you're like, all right, I'll put 1,000 on this thing, you're not going to really put your whole nest egg on something that you find to be new and risky and volatile. So I had that kind of conviction with silver, and I don't regret it, because I slept at night. I was able to sleep at night. I had a clear mind. I actually made this channel at that time, and I started doing the YouTube thing, but I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Now, knowing as much as I do about Bitcoin, I'm much more comfortable buying more and more Bitcoin. I've never sold any of my Bitcoin. I only continue to accumulate it because I know a lot more about it at this point, and I'm fascinated with it at this point. I think it's to me, I think it's foolish to be all in, and it's equally foolish to have none. That's how I feel about it. That's how I felt about it when I first got into it. Now I have a much, much larger position in Bitcoin because I got that insurance play. So I hope I didn't ramble too much on that. I hope it makes sense on why I believe in both. But yeah, again, I don't know why there's all this hatred going on. The next thing I wanted to talk about too is because of like this headbutting, we almost forget what the basket is out there that can flood into these safe haven assets. So if you have all of silver's market cap and all of Bitcoin's market cap in the same basket, you're talking about less than $3 trillion. Yeah. So for people that are like specifically in silver and Bitcoin that think that it's some sort of headbutting match there between the two, silver is a beautiful industrial metal. It's the most reflective metal on earth. They're using it in all kinds of solar panels, all kinds of electronics, the electric cars, just the auto industry as a whole, not even just electric cars. Electric cars obviously using a lot more silver, but auto industry as a whole is using tens of millions of ounces year over year of silver because they need it for the conducting of the electronics in the cars. So it's like how much silver and also platinum is being eaten up by just the auto industry and all these different industries. And now the solar panels are eating up a ton of silver. Silver used in medicine and filtering water. It's antibacterial, so it's used in silverware, filtering water, all of that. Tons of uses for silver. More than 70% of it is used in industry. So for me, it's like I can have extreme conviction in silver, and it's like my bank account in a way where I know that it's a great place to park money and leave it there, and it's going to be safe there. That doesn't take away that I love the upside of Bitcoin. And with my Bitcoin position now, I'm still adding over 60,000 here. I'm continuously dollar cost averaging in my personal Bitcoin position because I believe in it so much. I've never sold any of it. I continue to add to it. I continue to add to my silver hoarding, my silver hoard. So it's like, I believe in these things. I would much rather be in these things than the dollar. And the funny thing is, people in Bitcoin and people in precious metals both agree that the dollar is losing its buying power and we need to protect our money. So that's how I feel about all of that. But again, you're talking about all of silver and all of Bitcoin in the same basket being less than $3 trillion. When you have over $900 trillion of financial assets worldwide that needs to find a safe haven to go into. And the reason I like silver and platinum so much is because the market cap is so low. Platinum's market cap is less than 300 billion. And above ground available bullion in platinum is it's even thinner than that. Excuse me, because most of it is eaten up by industry. Like over 90% of platinum and palladium is eaten up by industry. Like I think it's over 100% with palladium because it's been in like a 6-year deficit of not having enough palladium to meet the demand. So there's metals out there that are used in industry that make a lot more sense as a storage of value than gold does. So I would much rather be in silver and platinum than I would, and you could actually put all of silver, all of platinum, all of palladium, all of rhodium even, and all of Bitcoin in the same basket, and it would be less than 3 trillion, or roughly just about 3 trillion. So should that space there be in a headbutting match, or should they be like, hey, you're similar-minded, I'm similar-minded, why don't you teach me more about that? I would like to learn more about how you're self-sovereign in the digital realm. Oh, really? I would like to learn more about how you're self-sovereign in the physical realm. Interesting. Couldn't that be the conversation, Peter Schiff? Maybe I'm going to have to do that. Maybe I'm going to have to start teaching people so they learn more about it, because you're obviously not. Sorry, I got a chip on my shoulder. You saw the comment he made. Still have that chip on my shoulder. So he's helped me in a way because it inspires me to get this information out there. But my Bitcoin really helped me quite a bit. Now I can leverage it. Now there's leveraging instruments out there, so I can literally give my Bitcoin to a custodian, get a loan against it, never declare a capital gain, get capital against my Bitcoin while still owning the Bitcoin, pay off the capital, then get my Bitcoin back as it appreciates in value. It's crazy, the use cases for Bitcoin and the utility of it, but we'll get into that into another video. But I'm very, very thankful for everybody that taught me as much as they have about Bitcoin and just learning more and more and more about it, because as I learn more about it, it's fascinating to me. And that doesn't take away from my other precious metals holdings. Like I still like them both, and I don't understand. Again, 3 trillion in all of the industrial precious metals. If you take gold out of the equation and then Bitcoin combined, it's only around 3 trillion. Then you have 900 trillion out there in financial assets, and then another 400 trillion in derivatives on top of that. So over a quadrillion out there needs to find a safe haven. Do you think 5%, 10% of that money might flood into precious metals and Bitcoin? Highly likely. Highly likely. If just 1-2% floods into Bitcoin, you're talking about a Bitcoin price of 500K. to 2-3%, you're talking over $1 million on the price per Bitcoin. Very easy to do that. And as you get more and more institutional buying, I would argue Tesla will probably start buying the metals they need too. They'll probably get more Bitcoin, probably get the metals they need. And that includes like cobalt, lithium, silver. All of these things would be bought by these companies that need it. They'll probably start accumulating in bulk because they're scared of the inflation that's going to happen, and it's going to hit the asset that they actually use in their products. So I'd imagine it starts getting accumulated. Again, I just don't understand why there's this headbutting match going on. That was the main topic I wanted to go over in this video, is start learning more about these things. And before you criticize them, actually learn about them. And the more I learn about Bitcoin, the more I learn about silver, the more bullish I get on both of them. And I don't see any reason for those two specific things to be in a headbutting match. I see them being a great bridge. I see them being very similar-minded communities. And I'm very, very thankful that I got that small amount of Bitcoin back, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and continued to accumulate as I progressed with this channel and progressed in the Bitcoin space, learning more and more about Bitcoin. Very thankful for it. And again, I continue to add to it. I have not sold any of my Bitcoin, and I continue to add to both positions. That's pretty much the video. That was everything I wanted to talk about. Hopefully it helps you. The other thing, I guess the last thing I want to talk about, and I kind of went over it deep in the past point, is that these market caps are very small. If you've seen with Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin got to $1 trillion, right? And then it recently pulled all the way from the all-time high back down to 30,000, which was a great buying point, in my personal opinion, not financial advice. So you can see that it went from $1 trillion down to 500 billion very fast, because that needle is capable of moving based on how much money has been injected into the system, how many hundreds and hundreds of trillions is out there. Because of that needle being such a low market cap at 1 trillion and the ease of the on-ramp, I could easily see that going to tens of trillions of dollars. With silver, it's also low on the market cap, being only 1.3, 1.4 trillion, whereas gold is 12 trillion, 11 to 12 trillion range. A lot harder to move 11 to 12 trillion, especially if it's not being used in industry. So gold could get chipped away a bit and flood into Bitcoin, and might even flood into silver a bit and other precious metals from gold. Because gold is a little bit, if it loses the monetary aspect a bit to Bitcoin, then you would see the fact that it's only used about 5-10% in industry. So I would much rather, that's something I would bring up with Peter Schiff. It's like, when given the option of which precious metals to be in, why would I choose the one that's not being eaten up by industry and just being stored in vaults? And I know I might lose a lot of you here, but me specifically, there's obviously an argument for gold, but me specifically, I would much rather be in silver, platinum, palladium. That's where I would much rather be, in addition to my Bitcoin holdings. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in the video. I know I've said it like 3 times now, but hopefully it was good content that you can actually learn some stuff from. But I would love for you to write in a comment down below how you feel about this. Are you only precious metals and you're not willing to learn about Bitcoin at all? Are you only Bitcoin and you're not willing to learn about precious metals at all? What is your opinion on it? Rather than being in this space of, we're right, you're wrong, all of that, put your points in a comment down below. Like, be detailed about it. We all read the comments. I read every single comment. And I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this video will really benefit from the comment section, much more so than just hearing me ramble on. So a lot of learning goes on in the comment section. Would love to hear your perspective on this. And also, what do you think is the right allocation for a portfolio? Like, what do you think? Should you be all in one? Should you be half and half? Should you be 25%, 75%? This is all my opinion, not financial advice, but what is your opinion? Tell me that as well in your comment. Would really appreciate it. Which one do you think will perform better? All of these different things. Would love to get your feedback. If you liked the video, would really appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, hit a thumbs down. I would appreciate a like though. Share this video if you want to get it out there. Would really appreciate it. And again, if you want to know more about silver, precious metals, if you want to know more about Bitcoin, I'm going to do videos on cold storage, on building my own node, all these different things in Bitcoin. And I tend to try to simplify it because I'm not the most intelligent. I try to be as intelligent as I can be, but I tend to try to simplify things down and break it down so that everyone can understand it, because it's hard for me to understand it. It takes me a while to comprehend something, and I'm learning more and more about Bitcoin. And if you want to learn more about it, please subscribe to the channel. I promise you I'll be making a lot more content and trying to simplify it all down for you. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you at the next video. Signing out.